going to kick off the afternoon with Stavros, who's an engineer from EVA. He's going to take us through the challenges and the wonderful opportunities we have with Tableau. So, Stavros.
Yes. Today we are going to see Tableau, which is a tool about data visualization. But before putting our hands on it and do some examples, I have a small presentation. So you'll get to know a little bit about the Tableau history and why it's important to do visualization, and some of the terminology that Tableau is using. I will show you also the interface, how Tableau it looks before we start using it. So let's start. First things, some things about me. My background education is in computer science from a university in Greece. Then I had some years of experience, work experience in Greece as well as a web developer. And then in 2012, I decided to take a master education in Aalborg University of Copenhagen. And from November 2014, I am an employee at AVA, at the Royal School of Library and Information Science. So some of my interests are exact programming, AngularJS, Linux, databases, big data analytics, visualizations, and a lot of more, yeah. And also some of my hobbies like traveling, cinema, and doing sports. But let's move on and let's see the agenda for today. So I'll do a small introduction. I will tell you about the Tableau, why to use Tableau, the ways that a person can use Tableau, different products that Tableau is offering. As I told you before, the terminology that Tableau is using and some important things that we need to understand first before going and using Tableau. So, who knows this guy? Yeah. Actually, it's not Jon Snow from the Game of Thrones, but it's Jon Snow, a physician. He lived in London during the 18th century, where at that time in London, it was the breakout of cholera disease. So everybody at the time were convinced, physicians and the government, that this disease was spread through bad air. But this guy, Jon Snow, was not convinced about it. And he had some questions about the causes, the real causes of the disease. So what he did, he started working with the data that he had, with the number of deaths and the regions and the neighborhoods where the people were dying. And what he did a map visualization. As you can see here, these are some pictures from Wikipedia. This is the neighborhood of Soho, and with the dots, he is trying to show the number of deaths in each of the blocks around this neighborhood. Can you notice something here that Jon Snow noticed at that time? Okay, yes? As you can see here, to this area, the number of deaths is really big regarding to the other blocks. So he saw that close here there is a pump, a water pump. So he was questioning himself if the water has a relation with all these deaths. And based on this map visualization, he started investigating the data. And he went to the neighborhood and trying to ask questions. And he finally realized that all the deaths in the neighborhood were related to this pump, because people from other blocks, they were using this water for their daily purposes, and also children that were living in other blocks too far away, they were going to a school close to this street where the pump water was there. So he was surprised about what he found. He made a report and the documentation about this and presented to the mayor and to other doctors, but they were not convinced of his results, and it took like several years until another doctor who read his documentation, he also presented to the mayor, and then they decided that okay, they have to close this water pump. And after closing the water pump, they realized that the number of deaths was decreasing So all this, Jon Snow did it because he was one of the first, let's say, that he used a map visualization in order to understand better the data that he was working with. The next thing that I want to show you is the visualization process. So during this day, you were introduced about working with data. Just before, Rebecca showed us how to collect data. So the first step of visualization process is to acquire data by scrapping or collecting them in different ways. The second step is filtering this data, make possible that only a certain amount can go for further analysis. The third step is to enhance the data by grouping the data, making different hierarchies or sorting them. The fourth step is to tune the data, making a process for a specific period of time, like for a month, for a week, for a year, and so on. And finally, the last step is delivering the data, but so showing the visualization that you have done. You can see that it is a circle. It is a circle because once you have answered one question with this visualization, maybe you have another question that you want to get answered because maybe you want to add another data set to your visualization. Imagine at the time at Jon Snow how difficult this thing was. He was going to the neighborhood, talking to the people and doing this thing manually. Later on, programmer it was also difficult for them to do all these steps in order to make a visualization. But nowadays, with tools like Tableau and other software that are out there, these steps are very easy, and everyone can do that by just following specific steps and drag and drops into the interface of Tableau, as I will show you later when we are going to do some examples. So a few things about Tableau. It started in academia, actually, in 2001, known as Polaris. And it was a PhD student, actually, named Chris Stolt, and his supervisor, that they were working at the time in a project that it was about visualizing multidimensional relational databases. So they came up with a query language that it was called, at the time, VisQL. And this query language was the base of the Polaris system, and later on of Tableau as well. A third person jumped into the team just a little bit later. His name was Christian Chabot, and he was the one who had the vision about this product. That he said, guys, this product is really amazing, and we should move, and found a company, and so on. So they founded the company in 2004 in Seattle, where they have still their headquarters. Mostly Tableau is known as a business intelligence company because it provides business intelligence and analytics, but it's also a great tool for making complex visualizations. They have a lot of customers, as you can see, and recently, like 2 or 3 years before, they moved to Europe also. Their basis is in London now, and in London they have also a branch for the Nordic countries. And a quote from the co-founder of Tableau that I really liked is that during his time when he was doing his PhD, he said that whenever I helped people to get direct access to the data, they were shocked and grateful, and I have never forgotten that. So they are always improving this tool for making more easy to use and allowing you to do complex visualizations, analysis, and forecasting, and so on. So why to use Tableau? Because it's ideal for complex visualization, for business intelligence and data analytics. You can make interactive presentations, and once you have done your presentation or your visualization and you have published it, other people can interact with this visualization as you are interacting in your solution, in your desktop solution. So it's not a static visualization, but it's an interactive visualization. Of course, working with data, when you are trying to import data to Tableau from other sources, it's easy, and there are a lot of possibilities. Yes, you can also do fast analytics. Tableau can analyze like 100 million rows for very few seconds, let's say. Another interesting thing is that you can build your Smash dashboards or interactive dashboards, which is a combination of different visualizations. that you have done, and you want to show them in a specific dashboard. So by doing that, you can get better insight of your data. And also, of course, it's very easy to share these visualizations with other people. And the most important thing is that Tableau, it has a great support. They have a very big database of video tutorial and so on. And another thing that is really important is that so far, Tableau gives academic licenses that are free, at least as you can show them that you are related to a university or to a school. So how people do work with Tableau, or basically which are the products that Tableau supports until now. First one is Tableau Desktop. It's a solution that we are going to see today, and it's for personal use in your desktop, where you can build your visualization, and from this solution then you can share your visualization with other people. Secondly is the Tableau reader. In order to see Tableau visualization, you have to have this reader. It's pretty much like the Adobe reader, let's say. Then is the Tableau Public, when you have to have a subscription there. In this solution, everything is free. So if you upload something to Tableau Public, everybody can have access to this visualization that you are uploading there. The Tableau server is mostly an enterprise solution and is used for business intelligence. It's a server that you can install in your own company or in your own department, let's say. And only specific persons that have subscription to this server can see the visualization and can interact with it. And the last is Tableau Online, which is a solution pretty much as the Tableau servers, but it's on the cloud, and it has some limitation, like the number of data sets that somebody can use and so on. So a few things about the terms that we are going to see later on in Tableau. The one that are with bold letters, I think that are the most important, and like this term, mark of cards, for example, is, we are going to see it later, but it shows us different type of graphs that one can do, like a line or a bar chart or so on. We are going to see, I'm going to explain that everything later when we are going to work with Tableau and see some examples. But let's see the Tableau interface, how it looks like, and I want to explain a few things here that are really important. So as you can see here, we have dimensions and measures, and dimensions mostly are with blue color and measures are with green color. This is how Tableau understands the data. Once you import the data in Tableau, he splits the data into dimensions and measures. And on the next slides, I'll show you what exactly is a dimension and what is a measure. So dimension represents a field that contains qualitative or categorical data. So mostly it's like string values, while the measures represent a field that contains quantitative data. So we have to do with numerical values here. Most of the fields of dimensions are discrete fields, and the measures are continuous fields. And as I explained it before, you can differentiate between measures and dimension based on their color. So once we, in 5 minutes, let's say, once we open Tableau and start working, these are the few of things that I want to show you today. How to connect with the data using Tableau, how we can do some hierarchy, sorting, grouping, or filtering the data, doing some basic charts in the beginning and showing the interface, what's the purpose of each of the terms that we saw before. We are going to see some advanced charting, and by advanced charting I mean like a combination of two charts, for example. And we are going to see map visualization, the dashboard, the interactive dashboard, and if we have time, I want to show you something about analytics that Tableau supports, like forecasting and clustering. I hope that everybody has installed Tableau, but in that case that someone wants to install it again, we can find it at this link. download the file, run it, and using this activation key in order to have access to it. Yeah. This was the short presentation, so yes. Okay. Yes. In order to use Tableau. Yeah. Yes.
Stavros, is, isn't it isn't it true though? I feel like there's a longer trial for academic.
It should be a 30-day trials
yeah.
actually. If you
30 days.
yes, if you don't. But if you ask a license as an academicer, the only thing that you have to send to them is the business email. It should be related to a university or to a school, and then they will provide you with a license. At least they did it with me when they asked.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
You can. Now I'm confused. We have a 14 days trial. You said I could get a 30 days trial if I'm an academic, and you said that if I prove that I work at a university, I'll get a free account for good?
Yes, and not for good, but for a larger period. I got it for 1 year for some.
Okay, so it's not for 30 days, it's for a longer period.
What I did actually is that I sent an email and I said that I'm going to use Tableau about a course that we have in the university, and I want to present to the students how they can use this tool. And they immediately reply to me and say that, okay, we are sending you this activation key, for example, and then for 1 year you can have this tool and work with it. But if the institutions want to buy a license, it's not so expensive. It costs like a Tableau desktop, not the professional version, but the simple one. It costs like $900 or $1,000 per year.
I've heard cheaper.
Maybe, maybe.
Does this sound familiar with the publishers? And I know. So at my library we teach Tableau Public. So that's how we get away with free options to this. But yeah, I think it's still kind of negotiable if you wanted to get subscriptions, for people with the academic license.
Everything okay? Can we move forward now and work with Tableau? Okay, once you open Tableau, you are going to see this screen. Are everybody there? So So the first thing that I want to show you is how to connect to data. As you can see here on the left side of the panel, there is a connect, and you can see different choices that you have here. Connect to a file, like an Excel file, and that's where we are going to work today. A text file, an Access file, a JSON file, or a statistical file. But what is interesting about Tableau is that you can connect to a specific server, like a Tableau server, a Microsoft SQL server, MySQL, Amazon, and there are a lot of more. So as you can see here, Tableau can connect to all these server solutions that are here, and it can grab data from them and visualize them. Today I want to show you something that it was released with the last version of Tableau, Tableau 10 version. In the previous version it was not there, so it's the Google Sheet. So let's click on that, and if you have a Google account, for example, you can try it. And you should see this icon here, and you will say, yeah, this is some information that will be shown to Tableau if you allow access. So we say allow. And yeah, in your Google Sheet documents, if you have any documents, you should see something like this. You can basically search for a document on the URL, or you can select one from the list. The only thing that I want to tell you in order to make sure that this thing is going to work is that the document that you will have on this Google Sheet, they should not contain pivot tables, or they should not contain error values like null values. So this is a limitation. They are working on it to fix it, but maybe they will fix it in the next release. But it's a really good thing, because if you have different people working on this Google Sheet, once you have connected this Google Sheet to Tableau, then you don't have to do anything else than just refreshing the visualization. And if somebody else is importing data into the Google Sheet, then immediately they will be seen in Tableau, because we are going to, Tableau, it uses live connections. So this is a really good feature. But let's go to the starting point, and let's click onto the Excel file. And yeah, you are supposed to see something like this, the directory where Tableau stores these two data samples. And we are going to use the first one, the EU sample store, superstore. Once you are connected, now you can see on the left side that this Excel document, it contains 3 sheets, like the order, people, and returns, like 3 tables, let's say. So what you have to do in order to connect these sheets to the Tableau, then you have to just drag and drop. So we click on the first table on orders, and we drag and drop here. And as you can see, Tableau is making a live connection here. And now you can see the data that this table contains. Another solution can be to extract the data. By extracting the data, it means that you are not live anymore with this document, with this sheet, but you are extracting the data in Tableau. So you are using the data. If in the future you update this worksheet, for example, then Tableau will not understand that you are updating, you are adding data, or you are removing data, because you are using the extract. So I will recommend that you always use the live connection. We can see that there is another table here that is called people, and let's try to drag and drop that as well, and let's see what happens. So as you can see, immediately Tableau does a join between these 2 tables. In order this join to be possible, the table should have at least one specific field that is identical, they have the same name, and you can also change the type of join. Here, for example, the join automatically was selected the inner join, but you can do a left join, a right join, a full outer join. It depends on what you want to do with your data. But let's remove this table people because we are going to work only with the first one. So in order to remove a table or a sheet from this part of this place here, you can go to this arrow button and say remove. And immediately we will have only the first one. So now that we are connected to the data, let's go below here on the left side and press this button here, the sheet one. So go to the worksheet so we can see the data. So as I showed you before, Tableau understood the data and they split it into two parts, into the dimensions, which are the categorical data or the discrete data, let's say, and to the measures, which are the numerical or the continuous data. Here is the part where the visualization will be shown in the future once we will do a visualization. But I want to explain you what these columns and rows mean. These are the shelves when we can drag and drop different data from the dimensions or measures in order to have a visualization. So let's try. Let's grab the category and let's drag and drop it into the rows, let's say. So immediately Tableau understands and it's showing us what are these data about. So we have three types of category: furniture, office supplies, and technology. So what we want to do, maybe we want to visualize the number of sales for these three categories. So what we do, we go to the measures and we can see that Tableau has already converted a field here that is called sales, and we take this field and we drag and drop into the column shelf. And now we have a simple visualization showing us the number of sales, the sum of sales for these three categories. Pretty easy so far. But before going on visualization, I want to show something to you about this data pan here. That, as you can see, it's not so nice. The fields are a lot of them, and so maybe we want to do something with the fields in order to make a nicer view. So what we can do is that we can go to a specific field, right-click on the arrow, clicking on the arrow, sorry, and then we can say create. No, then we say hierarchy, and we say add to hierarchy, create a hierarchy. Yeah. So click on the arrow, hierarchy, and create a hierarchy. And immediately we have a window, a pop-up window that it tells us to give a name to this hierarchy that we are going to create. So since we are talking about categories and subcategories and products and so on, maybe the name that we can give to this is product. So we click OK. And now we have a product, and there's a sub-hierarchy of the product, the category. And there is another field that is called subcategory, that somehow it should be related with the category based on the data. Here I have to say that this is important. You have to have a really good idea of what are your data about, because some data sources allow these things to create hierarchy, and some data sources they don't allow. So it depends from the data. So it's up to you, before uploading or importing the data into Tableau, get an overview what these data are about. So now let's say that we want to add this other field that is called subcategory into the hierarchy that we created just before. And now it's even more easy than before. So you can just drag and drop this field, select it, and just drop it over here. You can see that there is a line here that it says, okay, this field is going to be below the category field. So now we have a hierarchy about products, and we have category, subcategory, and I think there is, there is the product name that it can be also added to this hierarchy. So we can do the same as we did it before, just drag and drop and put it here. Now we have a little bit a nicer view, let's say. And here is another hierarchy, which is based on the country, the state, and the city. Tableau understands the geolocations based on the state, the country, the zip code, and the latitude and the longitude. So immediately, in this case, he understood that these data are related to each other, and it built a hierarchy on his own. But still, we can see that there are some other fields that they maybe can have a relation between them, like the order date, the order ID, and the ship date and the ship mode. But these have relations because they are fields that are related to a product, when a product is shipped and so on. But they are not related, so we can build a hierarchy. So what we can do is that we can build a folder and put fields that have this other kind of relation all together. So what we do is that we go to the specific, to the order date, for example, and click. Just a second. I don't know why it's not highlighted here, but we're supposed to build a folder and put some I don't know, for a reason it doesn't allow me. But when you click on one of these fields, you should be able to create a folder and bring the fields together so we can have a nicer view here. Anyhow, but I see that we have the field region here, and we can take this field, the region, and drag and drop it to the let's take the field, the region, and drag and drop it to the country and state. Okay. So this was the first step, trying to create a different hierarchy between fields in dimensions. But we can do the same in measures. But since we don't have so many fields in measures, there is no need at this time. But if you are using another data set that will have much more fields, then it will be a good idea to have them in a nicer way by creating folders or by creating different hierarchies. No, it's not that. No, it's not that one. No, it's supposed, I have another solution here. No. For example, here I have different folders. So, and the way to create a folder is that you go to a field, to a specific field, and then you say folders, and then add folder, and then you can say create a new folder, for example. But can you do it on your... No?
Yeah, okay. So if you group by folder first, and then you can create a folder on that field.
let's try that. But now I can, actually. I don't know what happened. Yeah, okay. So let's go to the product ID and say folder, create folder. No? I don't know. What's happening? So folder, create folder, and then we give a name. We say, yeah, order, and we say OK. So now we have a folder here, and we want to add other fields to this folder, and we can do it as we did it previously by just selecting a field and drag it in over to the folder. So we select ship date, we select ship mode, we select order ID, and we select order date. And actually I'm going to remove product ID because so now we have a folder. So it seems that now the interface here, the data panel, it's a little bit not so messy as before because we are grouping and we are doing different hierarchies on our data set. The other thing is that I want to show you is how to create a visualization now, as we did it before, and then we are going to see how to sort different things in the visualization. So let's get to the category, to the product, and let's take the category, and put it here on the row shelf, and then the subcategory as well. Actually, we have the category here. As we can see here in the row shelf, we have a plus sign. This plus sign, it says that this is a hierarchy element, and it has some other elements nested into it. So if you click onto this one, then we'll see that.
How did you get the category over to the rows?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You can put it even in the rows or in columns. It's the same. I'll show you what's the difference now. And then let's take the sales and put it in the columns. Are we okay until here? Okay. Now let's go and see a little bit this mark shelf here before we move forward. At this mark shelf, as you can see here, Tableau has selected something that is called automatic. So automatically is building this chart for here for you. But you can change it. If you go and click on it, on the arrow, you can see different type of charts that, and if you click to the line, for example, you can see this type of chart. So as I told you before, Tableau, it's a very intuitive tool. So once you put your dimension and your measures into the column and the row shelves, it will select for you the best visualization based on some algorithm that Tableau is using. So now we have this visualization here, which is the sum of sales per category and per subcategory. And you can see the subcategory, it has another plus sign here, that it means that there is another element nested into it. So if you click the plus sign, then you will get the product names. And there are a lot of them, so as you can see. And if you do now this sign again, then the product name will disappear and it will go inside into the subcategory. And we can do the same with the category also. You can name this visualization by changing here the name of it, or you can do it by writing the name over here into the sheet 1 and say category and subcategories. Oops. As you can see now in the visualization pane here, if we go to sales, we can see a little icon here. And this is the icon, is one of ways that you can sort your visualization. So if you click in this icon, the visualization changed. Now it has a descending order. If you click it again, it will have an ascending order, and if you click it again, it will clear the visualization from sorting. Now, regarding to your question, if we change the category and the subcategory and the sum of sales from column to rows, you can try it and you'll see something like this. It's the other way around. And when we are dealing with fields that they have a hierarchy between them, if we have it like this, the category in front of the subcategory, and we try, for example, let's say that we want to do a sort now, but only for the subcategory, not for the category. So what we can do is that we go to this element, or as in Tableau they are called pills, for example. You go and click onto this small arrow here, and then you select sort. And then you can see a pop-up window that it allows you to do different type of sorting. You can do an ascending, a descending sort, you can do an alphabetic sort, or you can do even a sort by a field that it doesn't exist in your view, but it exists in your data. So let's do that, and let's say that, okay, we are going to sort by this field that is called sum. And if you click to this drop down here, you can see different functions that you can do with this, but let's select the first one, sum, and then let's say apply. And we can see now that the visualization has changed. And let's go to the category now and do again, select sort, and we have still the same pop-up window, but this time we are going to do a descending order here, and we are going to make the visualization based on the field profit. And let's say that now we are going to use the average. And we say apply, okay, and we have a different visualization. In order to clear everything from sort, you can go to the field here. You can go sort and then clear. And then again to the same, you can go sort to the other field and say clear. Now we don't have any type of sorting in our visualization. Everything clear so far? Yes? The sorting? Window? If you go to categories, sort, no?
No, nothing happens there when I... Maybe a bug, I don't know.
Are you using on a Mac or no?
Maybe it's an error.
Ah, I don't know. This is one way to do it, so maybe there are other ways as well, but... Okay, the next thing that I want to show you is how to group things into the visualization panel. You can do that in your data before, manually, but it's very easy to do it here from the panel. So what we are trying to do is that we are going to the subcategory here, clicking on it, and then saying create, and select group. And you should see this window. So we have the list of the subcategories that are here. And let's say that we want to group some of them, like envelopes, by clicking Control. And let's say fasteners, let's say labels, paper. So these are the fields from the subcategory that we want to group. Then the next step is by pressing the button group, and then we'll get something like this, and we can change the name of this group and say small office supplies. And we say OK. So now, if we want to see how the grouping is done, you can see that another field is created here under the dimensions. So let's drag and drop this field up here, and let's remove this field, the subcategories, because we did some changes now. So we have grouped some of the... So as you can see now, instead of 4 elements, 4 fields, or 4 subcategories, now we have one subcategory that it includes the other 4. So this is a way of grouping fields into the visualization pan. This is the easiest way to do, but it's a little bit static. It's not so dynamic. In order to make it more dynamic, we have to create a calculated field and the parameter that they are connected between them, but I think that it's a bit complex to show it right now. Maybe we'll show it later on. When I'll try to do a visualization, I'll show you how to create calculated fields and how to use them. But it will be in the next example. As you can see here, there is a shelf that is called filters, and by dragging and dropping elements from dimensions and measures into this field, we can filter our data. We can also filter our data by using the date. Date is really important to Tableau because we can use the date as a discrete field, but also as a continuous field. And the date, Tableau understands if the date is correct by year, month, and date and day. Tableau understands and it builds a hierarchy about the date by having the years, a quarter, month, and so on. Let me show you that. So let's create a new sheet, worksheet now. Just go here below at the previous one, where you can see that create a new worksheet, because we want to keep this one for later use. So let's do that. So now we have another sheet, and what we can do is that we can take order date and put it into the columns, and then we can take sum of sales and put it into rows. So now we see a relation between years 2001, 2012, 2013, and 14, and so on. The sum of sales, how it is going. And as I told you before, Tableau understands the date as a hierarchical field. So if you see the plus sign here, if you click on it, then we can see that it's split it into quarters. And if you click on it again, then it's split it into month. And if you click it again, it's split it into day, and so on. But let's undo that. Or maybe let's leave the months and remove everything else. So now we have this relation for sum of sales for all the months between the period from 2011 to 2014. Let's say that now somehow we want to filter some of this data. We don't want to show we want to show specific years. So what we can do is that we can drag the order date into the filter panel here. And then you can see this window, which is asks you to select what type of filter you want to put. You want to put a relative date, a ranging of dates, maybe a specific year, or maybe a specific month, and so on. In the beginning, let's try the relative date. So we click on it, and then we go next. And then you can see that there are different options, so like a range of dates, starting at this date and ending. So if we change here the date, let's say that we start from 2012, yes, and until 2014. So if we click on this one, apply, okay, then the visualization changed. The starting date is January of 5 January of 2012 until 2014. So this is a way of filtering data by using the date into the filters. Another way of filtering data by using dimension and measures is so let's rename this to date filter, and let's create another one, another worksheet. And into this one, we are going to put again the categories and the subcategories in one of the rows of column shelves. And sales again. So let's say now that you want to filter this visualization, but now based not only on the date, but using a dimension or using a measure. So let's say that we select category and we put it here onto the filter shelf. And now we can see this pop-up window that it says to you that, okay, select from the below list, and the three type of categories are selected here. You can deselect them, for example, if you want to show only one of them. But there is another option here below that it says exclude. So the first one was that you include the fields that you want to show. The second option here, the exclude, it means that you exclude. So I don't want to exclude technology. And Tableau will understand that, okay, I'm going to exclude only technology and I'm going to show the other two. So if we do apply here, then we have only furniture and office supplies. In order to do changes onto the filter, then you can go again to this arrow here, click, and do edit filter, and then change this. And now I'll try to explain a little bit these wildcards that are here, on the other features that are on the window. The wildcard is that you can match a specific value of your text from the previous list, let's say, like a text that starts with something or it ends with a specific value, or an exactly match. You can do also conditions by different fields. Let's say that you want to show categories where the profit, the average profit, let's say, of the categories is greater than 1. Because sometimes profit can be also minus, that's why. So if we say apply, you see that the visualization changed. Now it's showing only categories and subcategories that the profit is higher than 1, not smaller than 0. And again, if we want to do changes here, we edit the filter and we say reset. And now we don't have any. As you can see, both of the three categories are appearing here in the same as they were before filtering. Another way of doing filtering is also in the panel here, where you can click on it and say exclude on the specific one. So it will exclude the specific category with all the subcategories. So let's say this filter with dimensions.